Hello, 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 and welcome to Hello. Hello, and welcome to Hello. Hello, and welcome to Pop Cartoon Kabbalah. The nature of the moon. B'nai Yisachar. Tzvili Melech Dinah. Making a commitment to describe the combination and the mix, the arrangement and the, did I say nature? And the mix of the name that shines and the sign, the zodiac sign, and assorted other kind of contexts in Yanim, according to the Sefer Yetzirah specifically. He doesn't always describe himself just as doing this, but it is the main thing happening. Because that's the main source of the idea that there is a zodiac that officially within the word is as legitimate as anything else in the world in heaven. You know, the order of the heavens, the order of the moons, as much as on inside the order of the organs. Let's say he doesn't get to the organs so much. He says Korkaban. The mix, the fuse, the tzeruf, the order of the honored name that illuminates in this month is Hey Yud Wow Hey. Hey Yud Wow Hey. That comes out from the, as an acronym, Hey Yud Wow Hey, is an acronym for Hamiru Yamarenu Yahu. In Leviticus 27:36, somehow taken out of context, literally means turn around and turn around, and it'll be him or that. And so he's going to explain. Invert and turn around, and he will be him. This word in the Sefer Yetzirah generally means either, in some versions, the last stage of creation where the thing is flipped, turned around, and I think, turned around from one to the other, from one source to a receiver. Like turned around. But in some versions of the Sefer Yetzirah, they have this as the third transformation, inverted with the word seruf. Because here, the word we said mix, right? The mix of the name, the transformation of the name, the order of the name, is a word for alchemy, like that seruf, the turnaround, this sort of interaction. And some versions of Sefer Yetzirah have hamir in the middle, the flip is in the middle, and the seruf is at the end, the sort of fusion. But no, my favorite one has fusion in the middle. Seruf is in the middle, the inversionary moment in the third in transformation. And the fifth is the turnover, the hamirah, because it's already completed in order to be inverted. Hamir dato. And here he says what it's about. Shvat. B'Sefer Yetzirah, himlich od tzadik. Is tzadik associated? Baleita, and swallowing, and like swallowing. Let's say tasting. Let's say something stronger than tasting. I wish it was tasting, Baleita, but it's something right behind tasting, like the thing. Bola'it, consumption. Ukashar loketer, and bound to it a crown, this original thing. Tzaddik, the tzaddik, with just the swallowing, the sort of consumption. One on top of the other, and bound to it a crown. B'tzarbot liba olam, and created it, Aquarius, the bucket, in the world. Ushevet b'shana, Shvat b'shana, and Shvat, the moon, in the month. Ukorkaban b'nefesh, and some kind of gizzard stomach. Maybe some kind of pancreas. No, I think it's some kind of gizzard stomach. In the soul. Yishshchar Kabbalah, that's a very dirty word, but it's also a very sanctified word in context, and it's sort of the problem with taking a name seriously. Israel. And part of the promise, I think, in this use is there's an imperative in the thing that Israel meant traditionally. That is so responsible for the sense of mission in the thing. Because as much as the sense of mission in the thing is just to notice, what do you need? What do you need, world? What do you need, you? What do you need, self? What do you need? And this is the work of the tzaddik, as a tzaddik, let's say, but also as the letter. I don't know what it means. Let's just go with it. If there was a sign in the 12 of the zodiac, that represented the whole of the thing. Because keep in mind, in this system, there's 12 tribes, as if to say parallel, as if to say in imitation, and as if model of, as if hero model, as if. To say that one is the sign of the whole is a ridiculous thing. But where else do you have this kind of ridiculous thing? Is in the vision of the chariot. The 4 monsters on the sides of the chariot is like the lion face and the cow face and the eagle face. And then the 4th one is a human face. But some people read human face as angel face. And I think in this traditional order and association of Aquarius with the water carrier, with the angel face, the water carrier, the helper, the catcher, claiming Israel to the helpful water carrier, because the water is the word, the water is the Torah, the water is the thing being shared. And Israel traditionally is associated with this thing that it's carrying and nothing else. Because what could it be besides just like a word carrying tool, it literally means straight from the thing, or straight to the thing, straight to the thing, as if. It's a controversy because everyone knows There's no mazal in Israel. And this is ironic in three ways, right? Like, if there's 12 tribes paralleling the 12 months, let's say if there is, and notably the Sefer Yetzirah does not opine on that. He lists it here in the 7th of the commentaries about just the moon itself. The first one we already read, and the second one already started. It's just there to carry water, the water carrier, the bucket. It's just there to carry water. The angel is just there to do what you want to do, as opposed to the lion, right? The lion has a will that it sort of exerts. And according to that, it's like, oh, okay. And then the part of the self that's like, oh, okay. In Tim Leary and Robert Anton Wilson's sort of version, like the friendly weakness. What do you need, right? Ganymede, poor little Ganymede. You know, they didn't respect him so much over there. They didn't seem to respect Ganymede. I guess Jupiter did respect Ganymede and did even appreciate him, you know. But I know it's funny. What bigger honor could there be than to carry water? To carry water, you know, what a great thing it is to be able to bring. Let's say you just had buckets of gold, buckets of good things. Can you hear that rain outside? It's the sweetest sound. And it comes down so sweet. And this is the secret of Asher and the oil, which he begins to describe in section 5. But we're still in section 2. He brings a bunch of proofs for this idea. He brings a bunch of proofs, as one does in the field, for why the Torah is the water, and water is the Torah. Isaiah, you know, let all who thirst, let all who thirst, let all who thirst find good water. And he's using it there very directly, you know, go to water. To say that's the gig, you know, carrying the thing around. And this is part of the theology of, I think, also Yisod, whatever, you know, the part that holds the thing together. The Chai Olamim, let's say. And one of these principles, it's only the service, it's only the work, it's only the doing the helpful thing that makes you call it Israel, right? That the word is misused for anything except the helpful thing. It's actually just bringing water, which on the material level, you know, you'd see in like agronomy, technology, you know, just water, just like concepts. And in the hopes that by relationship to the concepts, you know, the stories, like Stanley, you know, making something good out of them, making them all, turn them all around to good. They're doing them right. They're learning about them and doing them right. Right? And everything that you want, anything that's wanted, is turned into this and through this, because it's one of those sort of universalizing functions, you know. Anything is turned into it and through it. So the master is the servant. As much as the servant loves the master, the servant is already the master's will himself. And they give the example of Abraham's buddy, who they say is just one dude, domestic Eliezer, who just goes to go and bring him back the princess who will be the mom to the whole future they're planning, whatever sort of mystery school of independent functionality they're trying to run over there back then. About the faithful servant of Avraham Avinu, Abraham is not Israel, because Abraham is the first to be beyond the cycle through discipline, through offset, through antidote, through association and disassociation, through all the Abrahamic advanced contemplative sciences. Was the first to be able to overcome the signs, being under the signs, being just the sign that you are and that's who you are. No, it's good to feel like you have some control of your selfhood and what you are through perspective or through whatever way we offset our natures, through sensitivity, through noticing, through breath. הנה עבדו זקן ביתו דרשו עליו בפסוק ובמשק ביתי. That is to say, his old servant, which I'm sure you know from Sufism, the old servant is the most faithful one. And they said about him, they learned out about him from the line, and the son of the farm of my house, the son of the farm of my house, the place where I give out my wine, the guy, the closest to the things, who Damesek Eliezer, he is Damesek Eliezer. What does that word domestic mean? My domestic servant. Domestic. What does domestic mean? It sounds like the word we used for farm earlier, meshek, right? Sort of like where you can put things out from. But listen to me say that. Where you can put things out from. The meshek. The sort of. But that's not what the Gemara says. They use that word. Dole. Umashke. Meshek lashon mashke. Dole pours out. Umashke. And drenches and quenches. Umashke. Like meshek, like where you supply the drink from. Dole umashke. Pours out, quenches down. Mitorat rabo la'achirim. From the gospel of his master to others. Eliezer is sent on the most deeply trusted mission. Find me a princess, and here's how you know if she's like the world we want to bring and the world we want to make. Doleu mashke pours out and nourishes. And because of that, the whole project, because the water carrier, the bucket, is the servant who serves the water, which is the word, which is the Torah, which is the thing. And everybody knows, right? Everyone in Sufism knows the servant has no will. except to know and be with that of the master. And understand the thing. And hear. And hear. And here open your eyes and understand. That's literally his words. This is section Gimel. Section Gimel. Section Gimel. Page Reish Samechet. B'nei Yissaschar. Mamre Shavat. Ubazeh yiftechu einecha v'tavin. And in this, open your eyes and understand. Asher eved Adonai mana l'zeh kasher shalchu Avraham. Asher gviu kasperchu l'mala min hamazalot. Levi isha Yitzchak. Asher ezwei l'zeh yaldeh u'ma'akdasha. Asher mezalon l'adliyu. Nishamesh l'mayim zot Torah ne'aved azazeh. Asher dole u'mashkel v'torat rabo. Mismanei amilsita maya. Nasher maya hatina kedecha. Hatina kedecha. There it is. That's the part. Hatina kedecha. How did he know? How did he know? How to find the person who was supposed to be the person? Who there just wants to give and pour water out? Just bring your thirsty camels and see who by that well reaches out. That's who we need to start this whole thing. Ooh. Oh. Misamani amilsita. Yamayna shelmaya tina kadecha. The one who offers to give out the bucket to fill. V'amrashata, and said, please drink something. Nourish yourself. Take care of yourself. Drink that water. Grow that grow. Because what is a holy people? One that wants to serve. One that is already taking care of it and already nourishing. Let's say. A dli is a cod. It's what you pour from. Okay. He wants us to understand with wide open arms specifically. But then 4 starts with, and in these things find a good reason. He's acknowledging there's something a little incoherent about his bucket tirade so far. But in this find good justification. Hashem Moshe Rabbeinu b'tchilat hachodesh hazeh atchil levaer et haTorah b'sefer Mishnah Torah. That at the beginning of this moon, at this beginning of this month, traditionally is when Moses started to go back over the thing. Like the whole 5th book of the Pentateuch, of the Chumash, is the Mishnah Torah. Because really the Torah finished after 4 books. But then Moshe Rabbeinu does a commentary on it. The Mishnah Torah, starting from near the beginning of Torah. It's quite wild. It introduces a lot of new things, perspectives on the things that had happened up until that point. Just Moshe Rabbeinu sort of saying his version. And that starts right around now, or a little bit already. Earlier in the moon, I should say. And one of Moses' main trips is this thing does not have to apply if you can just find your balance. Because there's this principle in Mazal Yisrael, but on the other hand, it's the Torah that makes that anything is offset. Because the problem of Torah is that it is so much a frustrating offset to whatever makes sense. And Torah has its own sort of thirsty weight in that way, like water, justifications that we need to get a sense of what's worth prioritizing, to whatever degree that we can, and are just nourished by, in the same way that we're nourished by media, in the same way that we're nourished by just learning, in the same way that we're nourished by just feeling understood, Torah, the back and forth like water. And so this is really the time when it happened. As much as and this is the only time it can happen, because there is no Moshe except in the context of something called Yisrael. Let's say, as much as we want to associate him with anything else, Saturn or Levi, 8 or 4, it's in the context and in response to a composite already understood, Israel. And let's say, as much as the problem well, let's just see what he says. Hey, we're already more than halfway. We're already almost at the bottom of this. And let me tell you, I've seen it. It's really good. Hey, out of Chet, the Hitbonin Ode, and contemplate further. Yitro. Jethro. Haya. Chacham Gadol. B'chol Chachmat. Itztagnanut. Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, was a great, great wise man, learned in the astrologics. They call it here Itztagnanut. Okay, Bechachmat Hamazalot, and straight up astro wisdom, and Itztagnanut. Kamo she'amru chava b'seinu, amru atah yidati ki gadol Adonai v'kol Elohim. And this is why it's able to say that when he came and testified in that middle part of the Bible, when Jethro just comes up and says, I now see how great is Yud-Heh Vav-Heh, the God from all the gods, from all the divinities, from all the Elohim. They learn out from that he had to know them all, and from how much awe means perspective, Asta yadati ki gadol Adonai v'kol Elohim ki hu haya baki b'chol inyanei ha'avodot shel ha'kochavim, all the services of all the stars. That was the gig, just to learn and be wise, and thus be able to judge accurately for the pharaohs and the selves, and that's just what it says. And the signs, to bring down their powers of the signs, that was the gig. Tanchuma Yitro Pei Zayin V'amar al ze atay dati ki gadol Adonai al ken Yitro sheyach chacham gadol v'chol ze amru lo benonotav ish mitzri tzilanu go gam delo lanu delo lanu and delo lanu. Right, they said they came to him because Moses went down with the same theory. Go down to where it's nice and see where they bring you water. And she came back and helped them move the rock that makes the water hard to reach, very important tradition. If you can move the rock that makes the water harder to reach, maybe you're worth marrying, Oh, titbone, gam dela, Gam dela dela, and also carry, and gam dela dela, and also carry, dela dela, like deli, like Aquarius, dela dela dela. Gam dela dela lanu veisak et hatzon, and quenched the thirst of the sheep. Dela dela, came and poured water for us, carried and carried, slept and slept. Faithful servant. Moses' main reward, traditionally, as acknowledged in the Sabbath liturgies, is he gets to feel and know that he is and be a faithful servant. Isn't that a nice thought? Right? And he is the mind and reason, as per Sufism, right? The faithful servant is the mind, the good part of the mind, right? But also not the good part of the mind. Because if we take our thoughts too seriously, if we take our understanding too seriously, our Moses is too seriously, either our Moses too seriously or our Pharaoh too seriously, it's a little much. So let them take care of it. The Gematria Shvat. Oh, this ties together a lot of things. Ish, where did he go? Where did this Ish go, right? They refer to him, Moses, when he comes as an Ish, as a man. This is the same word in the vision in Isaiah, or Ezekiel, whichever one is the human face on the bottom, Ishim. All the angels are Ishim. All the people are Ishim. But it's also the angel name and phylum, Ishim. And this is the supportive engine, the supportive side of the engine, the one that mirrors, gives you what you need. All the divinities that are seen in human form, it's because they're coming in the form that you need. And they all kind of resemble this one Adonis central figure of just sort of whatever beauty is in its sort of phase. Ish, Aleph Yud Shin, is Gematria Shvat, Shin Bet Tet. They both are the same numerical amounts. Shvat is Kolel, the Ish, the sort of angel face. That's a sweet one. That made it all worthwhile, didn't it? But no, it's not done. We're close. Oh, snap! And even Bilam is implicated in the thing. Spoken of the thing. Midbar. Yazel mayim midla, zaro b'mayim rabim. And he will flow. Flow press. Flow press? Is that what we came up with? I'm trying to think of the thing that happens when something comes out of something. Yazel, drip. That's the one. Water from his bucket and his children in great waters and understand. Dli umloo. Wow. That was hey. This is wow. Dli. 3 letters, right? Dli. What Aquarius is. Daled Lamed Yud. 4:30:10, whatever. Isn't its filling Daled Lamed Yud? Daled is 4, Lamed is 30, Taf is 400 in its filling, in the sort of expansion, where every letter is a whole word and every word is a whole gematria, let's say, is 8 times Galgal. 8 times the cycle. You wonder how a person gets to that. To just notice, like, hey, if I expand the letters in this small word, Daled, Lamed Yud, 8 times the cycle, 8 times Galgal, the cycle that everything wraps around, the cycle that everything glows around. Aquarius, you'll recall, is ruled by Saturn, but also is a lot about the entire cycle, because Saturn sort of includes all the others at one point. That's one of the things that's unique about Saturn amongst the stars, is that in the stories, all the other stars were included within Saturn, or Kronos, until unseated, but still allowed to rule over the next world and the underworld. is the greatest distance away in the cycle, but is the whole of the cycle. Because chronos is the whole of the cycle, is time. Time itself, is the whole of the cycle. The Galgal. Oh, Hainu. The 7 stars. That is to say, now here he's a specific definition for Galgal. Times 8 is that the Galgal is the 8th, because it's the 7 stars, and then it's the cycle. Associating Galgal with a thing beyond, the Empyrean, I think they call it sometimes. Zayin kochavim lekat, the Galgal shmini asher kavuim bo hakochavim, on which these stars themselves are set, the great darkness on which the stars themselves are set, the cycle. Darkness on which the stars themselves are set, the cycle. Kulan betelin mimishpeti hetem. Negin miluya delia nu mayim zot Torah. They're all completely nullified. Mishpete mishpetitem. From their staff, from their power. The name Shvat, he's associating, saying the name Shvat has to do with the power, which is the power to carry. An ironic inversion of a bucket that is a staff. The bucket that is a staff. I want to say like in The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Also the vowels in the order of the word are Gematria Galgal. I think those are sort of Hemirenu turnaround things. But this is not the part that he's getting to. Everyone is a good guy. Everyone is a tzaddik. Your people are all good people. Amcha kulam tzaddikim. Right, this is the curse that some kind of self-perception ego gives us. Amcha kulam tzaddikim. But it's also a deep truth. All your people, all your people, all your people are good people. All your people are good people. Amcha kulam tzaddikim. It's from Isaiah. Even Farrakhan likes Isaiah. Because this moon was created with the letter tzaddik. Tzaddik. It's also the word for tree. 8. And it's always going to be a sign of the redemption that's coming. In tzaddik. It's always just going to be a sign of the better thing coming. Because if you see a good person, wherever they are, what's a better sign that it's already happening? And what's a better way to relate back to the original thing happening? Via tzemach tzedek. Tzemach tzedek. In Jeremiah, he talks about the justice coming up. The justice coming up. Tzemach tzedek. Growing. That righteousness itself, tzedek itself, and the tzaddik itself sprout like trees. And overgrow. But as much as in some systems within this internal mess of systems, there's a whole, right? The Ish and Yisrael that is all inclusive. The word that means all your peoples, the expansive version of the thing that is the human face, Ish, that is the angelic face, the sort of But even amidst that, in this other system of the 12 tribes, he says one of the 12 tribes, and it's one of the other ones. It's one of the very other ones, Asher. And this is because of the olive oil and the blessing of the bounty that comes from having bounty. Have you ever been somewhere really nice? People there sometimes are really nice because there was enough, and there wasn't a fear of not having enough. There was as much as was fine to share, and as much as that is what nice can be and depends on, amazing. And this is the main thing in the world, in the word and in the world. From the oils and the fats, from Asher, grease his grains. And then near at the end of the Pentateuch in the Chumash, dipped his legs in oil. Because there's a lot of olive, over there in his area. And this is true. This is the truth about anywhere an olive oil branch grows. And this is what makes the crime of uprooting olive branches so awful. Anywhere olive grows, there's wisdom there. There's learning there. Because oil makes wisdom possible, alchemically speaking. Because oil is wisdom, just like Torah is water. The whole story where Yoav goes to find someone, to find a smart lady, Isha Chachma, to the place in Asherland, Tekoa, Alpha L'Shemen, the beginning of the oil. ראשית בחוכמתה, כמחזזר שבע, שבחוקו השמן זית מסוגל לכך. Oils well, it ends well, I suppose, but they say more about that. Asher had the best hope of a future. Like this age of Aquarius has the best age of a future, right? Let's say like Asher is the only one of the cursed 12 sons of Jacob to really have a really healthy relationship with the kids. His relationship with his daughter was Serach. Shout out to Serach. I met this weekend. Oh man. Wish you could be. Had been the happiest. That's why she could sing. That's why she could just sing songs that Jacob could hear. And sing the thing that was impossible to hear until she could sing it in a way you could hear. That he's still alive, the other one. And her song is about, the lost and sort of resurrected, all-encompassed sort of over there that becomes, a whole side of the heaven. Until he can sing from the sweetness of the satisfaction, from the olive, from the oil, from the wealth, from the depth of wisdom, which is really the main privilege. I really wanted to save this last part, but I can't. It's too good. The rest of it, Tu B'Shvat is not called Mishnaically originally is not called Rosh Hashanah Le'ilanot. That is better grammar in the modern sense. But it's to the single tree, Rosh Hashanah, to the tree. Like the hint that we received from our holy master and teacher. He says, our holy master and teacher, as if he only had one, who was only his one master and teacher. And I look down into the brackets and I see it's the Abdurav, the Ov Yisrael, Abraham Joshua Heschel the first, who is known for the love gospel, just take care of each other. You know, everyone just take care of each other. From whom Abraham Joshua Heschel, who marched, was this named and descended and inspired and understood. There's a tradition to pray on Tu B'Shvat for your etrog for Sukkot. The etrog is the foundational tzaddik in the narrative story traditionally. Just right and beautiful and special, just to pray for like a really good one that's just, you know, right the way it seems like it should be and smells good. But why to do this strange thing and pray for a fruit on a day? Why pray for a fruit on a day? Because it's the moment that the sap, that the syrup, that the syrup, that the syrup, that the syrup, that the siruf, that the syrup rises up. That the syrup rises up in trees. Ilanot. Rashi said it. והוא כפי הזכות של כל אחד, נעימתו מנעים שיתפלל אדם ביום ההוא ראשית יסוד הצמיחה. Behold, what good and what nice it is when person gets to pray on a day like that. The beginning of the foundation of the sprouting, right? That moment by the trees. Let's say you'd go outside and find a tree. Go outside and just find a tree that's going to have a fruit. What is the tree praying for that makes the fruit so sweet? They say in this name that it should be able to live, that it should be able to be alive. That's what they say traditionally. A day like that, the beginning of the moment, a moment like that. And this is a good rule in general. If you ever see a sunrise, if you ever see the beginning of a moment, a birth, maybe the beginning of the moment is a nice one, just to pray for the things to taste good and be right. שיזדמו לו שרוח לעצם משתרכת פרי צדר. And behold, its prayers, the prayers of the tree, become the fruits. That's why the fruits are sweet, because they are the prayers of the tree and the hopes to be, and that being could keep being. Because a tree grows better with the forest. We all grow better in community. And we build community through our words, through our trips, through our priorities, through our prayers. And this is why the writer of that original idea that, you know, this moon is the new year for tree, for the one tree, for trees, for the one tree. To speak of, the one tree. That explains how you do it, I think. He says, look back at the stuff I said about Cancer and Leo and Virgo, and understand what it is, the filling of a thing, the completion of a thing, the full bucket as opposed to the empty bucket. That is the difference between the beginning of a moon and the end of a moon. כשתבונן שם תבין גם טעם למאמר תנא בלשון יחיד אילן בגמטריה הווי אדוני ייחודה שלים. So there's the four-letter name of God, and then there's the way it sounds, Adonai. And Adonai is still 4 letters, but it's different letters, Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud. But when you put those 2 sets of letters together, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, 26, and Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud, however much that is, it's the same as the gematria of Ilan, tree, the one face, the one Adam Kadmon, the one stable Sur Olamim, the one Tzadik Yisod. He has it to say for like all these different months, including Sivan, Gemini, because he says the Gemini, what's the 2 extremes of the Gemini? Half full, half empty. In the context of Aquarius, the full versus the empty bucket. Because once upon a time, a guy came to Shammai and asked, can you tell me everything on one foot? And he sent him away with a stick. And he came to Hillel and said, he said a thing. Can you teach me the whole thing on one foot? Now, why would I motivate someone to do something on one foot? A tree pose. Can you tell me the whole Torah while in tree pose on one foot? דחפו באמת בבניין לבידו, אצל שמאי סתר גבור יד בידו מתנימת הבניין. Right, Shammai had the standard, the ruler, that is also called the measure and truth of the structure, Amita Binyan, beat him away with a stick, as it were. Because Shammai is from the side of restraint, traditionally, which is all kinds of better and all kinds of worse. But what is it to be from Gevura? Is you see the whole perspective and you see the whole thing and you see how much is ahead that you're responsible to. That's Gevura. Sensitivity. Gevura is just sensitivity. Gevura is just listening. And this is Shammai. Sees the whole structure built as one, the whole thing. Why isn't it already working? And it doesn't quite have to happen because that's part of restraint. Part of listening is not having the things be the way you notice they could be. Judgment, right? So what is the ruler for? So you can figure out how to do it right. Hits him with a ruler. We need a way to figure it out. Can't just stand here all day. That's his thing. I want to measure it somehow. And so eventually his structures are really closer to the true structures and will be fulfilled and understand. But Hillel came from afar, got into it from love. Hillel was just into this whole thing. How did Hillel get involved? He just listened passionately, couldn't afford to be there, but found a way to be there from love. And so his Torah was Torah of love. And so all of the religion, all of the Mishnah, all of the Torah comes filtered through Hillel, more or less. And it learned the whole idea of love onto Sinai, and that the main thing, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. He argues that this is the main center of the whole Torah, of the whole Israel, is love your neighbor as yourself, right? There's a school of thought that he argues, because he gets into it from love. Hillel and Rabbi Akiva both get into the whole thing from just, this whole thing is about love your neighbor as yourself, and I want to get closer to this so I can get closer to people and be righter with people, right? What can I do to be righter with people is the ostensible true mission of Yisrael that used to make the covenant work so well and led to so much sort of trustworthiness in context until the other thing happens, right? Chas v'shalom, when we're not tzaddikim, or we're not experienced as tzaddikim, because chas v'shalom, alienation from the trees, let's say, losing track of the trees and losing track of the covenant with the trees, of justice, of uprising, of syrup. And he recommends we just check over there, everything they say about love your neighbor as yourself. Just read them all out because I don't want to repeat. He says, so to not repeat himself, he just says, the renewing of the moon, the innovation and renewing of the new moon, at the beginning, it's a dot. It's a little dot, the new moon. It's so tiny, powerless. But why is the holiday in the fullness, the 2 Bishvat, 2 B'Av? Because the moon is so bright. Most of the holidays, right? Passover, Purim, Sukkot, the filling of the moon when it's full. And the way the moon fills, it's a little more all the time. And that's how we are when we grow. Plants grow in the moon cycle. And it's so important for plants to get moon cycles because that's how they grow and when they grow. And that's just how the schlepping is of the water carrying. Is a little all the time. Like famously Rabbi Akiva, a little drop on a rock. And this is the thing that cycles that sense of Aquarius mission, that sense of Sarat and perspective in active. And this is what makes all of the polarities possible in Gemini, from like Cancer to the next thing, to Leo. Because a person takes on a little more and a little more, and that's what learning is, and that's what Torah is, a little more and a little more added all the time by every discourse, by every relationship, by every dynamic. Till it goes out into the active. And this is what it is to have a thing like you have the whole thing. And check out over there what it says about, the different kind of Torahs, from kindness and clarity and from restraint and discipline. Emma left by Yamil Zandri, Shumazan Israel Shavin, and Maim the Torah, Kano Rosh Hashanah, Kiadam Sada. You know, water is so important because we are all trees, and trees just need water, and we just need Torah. We just need information. We just need media. We just need depth. We just need guidance. We just need water. And from here, understand. Well, taskil. From here, realize. And so under here, the first of Shvat is the holiday by Shammai, infinite potential, because restraint. But and Hillel is when it's full. The thing is when it's full. That's when it is. That's when it is. Because he's full of love. And love is sort of a full thing. You kind of need fullness to have love. And you kind of need love to have fullness. And this is why it's in language of kef, fun, but also chaf, two, like a hand, but also kaf. Also, two is in kaf. What? Ke. Understand these hints, he says, unhelpfully.